Hello.
I'm just waiting for him, sorry. So where are you having the baby? Right. Um,
Yeah.
okay, right. So my name is Mary Ty, and I'm from Birthing Mamas. I run gentle birth workshops and I do that in Cork. So I'm here today to talk about 10 tips for a positive birth. Okay, so what can you do to make your birth the most positive experience? So the first tip we would have is to choose your care provider or your place of birth carefully. Now, obviously in Cork, there's not a huge amount of choice with that, but we do have some choice, okay? In that, within CMH itself, if you're in a certain catchment area, you can opt for the Domino scheme, which is a small midwife-led scheme, okay? So, but there are stipulations in that you have to live within 5 kilometres and you have to be low risk, and so that mightn't, pertain to yourself. And then we also have, we have our main hospital. We also have a home birth scheme in Cork, and it's probably the best in the country. So there are a couple of possibilities within that. It's not like Dublin, though, where you have 3 hospitals and you're going to choose which hospital to go to. If you're going and you have to have a hospital birth, it is going to be CMH, unless you want to travel to Tipperary, which you probably don't, right? So, but it is important to think about if you have the options,
That's very perfect.
to think about would one of these suit us better, okay? And what we know evidence-wise is that midwife-led care leads to better outcomes for women and better, they feel more positive afterwards. Obviously, if you are high risk, there isn't the same amount of choice in that though, and so then you will be going through the main hospital system, and that can be a positive experience as well. We'll talk about how to make that a positive experience if that's your only option, okay? We're just talking about 10 tips for a positive birth experience. Okay, so the first one is choose the place of birth carefully, okay? The second is move your body in pregnancy and in labour, okay? So during pregnancy, it's good to get as fit as you can, especially if it's your first. It'll just help you throughout the labour to manage labour, especially as a first-time mum. You don't know how long or short your labour is going to be. And it can be, it's a physically active experience. So being fit can be very helpful. And it's not like you have to go and take up, kickboxing or anything like that, It's go for a nice walk. Or, just kind of be active as much as you can be, okay? And then in labour itself, stay off the bed, okay? The bed is great as a prop. So there's lots of things you can do with the bed, but try not to be lying on it, okay? That's what we tend to see birth as, is somebody lying on the bed. You don't have to be lying on a bed. There's lots of other things you can do. So bring in your birth ball. If you have a birth ball, bring that in with you. Use the shower, maybe get into the bath. Use the bed as a prop, so you can be sitting over your ball, and the bed can fire up and down, so you can be leaning over the bed, or you can get up onto the bed and lean over like this. There are ways to be mobile while using the bed, but it's just rather than lying on your back. If you want to lie down and you want to lie on your side for any reason, maybe you're tired or you were being monitored, or there's different reasons you might want to, try lie on your side and ask for the peanut ball. Okay, so the peanut ball is, as it says, it's like a birth ball, but it's shaped like a peanut. And the evidence shows that if you've had an epidural and you use a peanut ball, it can shorten the first stage of labour, shorten the second stage of labour, and it can also reduce the rate of cesareans in somebody using them, okay? So do think about the peanut ball. They have some in CUMH, okay? They have 2. So if you do need to go down that route of lying on the bed, then you can ask for that, and that will just help you, okay? What else? So another tip we would suggest is to take an independent birth preparation class, okay? And why we would say take an independent class is that obviously you have the option of doing a class in the hospital, and you're going to then hear about policies and procedures in the setting. An independent class will also talk about the benefits of those procedures, if there's risks, how do you navigate around them once all is well with you and the baby, and obviously that's always the bottom line. And so you're getting independent information, really. Another tip that we have is to hire a doula. A birth doula is somebody who will support you during your pregnancy, throughout the pregnancy and during the labour itself. And they will provide physical support, emotional support, and educational support to you and your partner. The statistics that we have for doulas, again, all show they lead to better outcomes for women. So there was a big study done in the US that looked at the impact of doulas, and the evidence shows that it leads to mums tend to want the epidural less. It leads to lower cesarean rates. It's more positive outcomes, as in mum feels better afterwards, even if there are interventions, you know. So all of that is really important. So we would say hire a doula for the birth, and just to give yourself and your partner support as well. Partners often need that support. For yourselves, it's often the first or maybe second time you've been in at a birth experience and you're supposed to know everything, you know. So it can be helpful to have somebody there that's there for you and will support you. And the other thing is avoid the negative Nellies. Okay, so as you probably know yourselves, you know, there are people that just cannot wait to tell you, you know, about their birth experience and how awful it was. And I'm not trying to dismiss somebody who's had a negative birth experience. I think it's really important that women who have negative birth experiences have a place to share it, just not with a woman who's currently pregnant. Okay, that's not because you're the one that you need to be in your little bubble. So find your positive birth tribe. We have on Facebook, we have a Gentle Birth Mums Facebook group. There's 7,000 members in it now, and it's really positive. And I think it's a nice little bubble of positivity. So find that. I also run Gentle Birth meetups in Cork regularly, and I have one next Saturday actually. And you're welcome along again. It's another nice, positive little bubble where women come along and we talk about birth, and you know we usually there's mums that have had babies that would pop in as well and tell their stories. We had a mum about 3 months ago, and she was just brilliant. Like everybody was enthralled, you know. She just had a very positive story, and she told it really well as well. Like, you know, they're very funny. So that's at this Saturday coming, which is the 8th, I think, in Starbucks. It's always in Starbucks in Citygate in Mahon, which is the one beside DFS Sofas. And it's from 11 to 1, and it's just a chance to come along and have a chat on a cuppa with other mums that are in the same place as yourselves. But as I said, we have it as a nice positive bubble. Okay, so please feel free to drop along there. Partner preparation. So a well-prepared partner is one of the most important tools in your labour toolkit. Okay, no pressure. Okay. Often in the labour room, partners are kind of sidelined a little bit, but with the right support and information, you can be absolutely fantastic. Such a great help to your partner. You just need to know what to do. Okay, so you just need to know what to do, and I teach Gentle Birth workshops, and we really focus on the partners, giving you the information and the tools. Really, mum's job is to be in labour, and your partner's job, whoever that is to do everything else. Okay, because when you're in the middle of labour, it's really hard to be thinking, oh yeah, I really need the lights dimmed, or whatever that is that we want you to do. You know, it's the partner that really needs to be doing all of that, and you can do that. You know, as I said, you can be really helpful and supportive. It's just having an idea as to what to do. Okay, write down your birth preferences. Okay, think of them as a communication tool. Okay, you may not have met your midwife on the day until that day. They don't know you. They don't know what your preferences are. So your written down birth preferences is just a communication tool to give them an idea of what you would like. And we call them preferences rather than plans, because plans are definite, whereas preferences are like, this is what we would love if everything's going well with mum and everything's going well with baby. And obviously you have to take them out of the bag and show them to them as well. Okay, so there's no point writing the preferences and then they stay in the bag. So you need to take them out and go, oh, I have some birth preferences, and again, this is the partner's job. Okay, we have these birth preferences. Would you mind taking a look at them? And it can really help, because a midwife. A supportive midwife will have a look through them and be like, okay, great, yeah, they all look fine. And then if anything does need to happen, they will say, okay, I know you had in your birth preferences that you would prefer for this not to happen. Here's why we think we might need it to happen. And it just allows some discussion, okay? So that can really help. Anyone, any questions so far? Okay. So the other thing is labour in water, okay? Water is also called the midwife's epidural, okay? It can be that helpful for birth. Deep warm water immersion shortens labour, reduces pain and allows for greater freedom of movement. So it can really help. There is a birth pool if you're going to CMH, there is a pool in there. And so ask for it, okay, if you're low risk. It's gorgeous, and the pool room itself is absolutely beautiful, isn't it? There,
It's gorgeous.
yeah, like it's stunning. Like it's so worth getting, just even for the fact that you feel like you're in Photo Island Resort, you know. So, and it's much cheaper than having a day in Photo
There's
Island.
lovely couch for the partners as well, so it's quite lovely.
Yeah, so it's ask for it, okay? If it is an option for you, ask for it. If for whatever reason the pool isn't available for you, maybe you're high risk, whatever your pregnancy discounts, or there's somebody in there, which is probably quite unusual, I think, because it doesn't, it's not, I think the take up isn't as high as it could be, but it's getting there, these things take time. So if for some reason, then you have the shower, so get into the shower. All the rooms in CMH are en suite. So get into the shower and get on all fours and have it on your back. That can be really helpful. Some women love that. There are also baths in CMH as well, and sometimes you might be able to have a bath. So there are options of water. Okay, so get into the water, and you can do, obviously you can have the shower at home as well, and you can have water at home. There thing. So the other thing is build your labour toolkit. Okay, so think about having a toolkit of different different tools that will help you during your labour. And what to put in those can be things like having your birth ball, for example, a TENS machine, aromatherapy oils, a rolling pin actually is great, not to hit anyone with, but to roll it, for mum, go rolling up and down her lower back can feel really nice. So having those tools, you might never use them, but they're there in case. And it might be the case that you use the TENS for 2 hours, but that's 2 hours of labour that you've got through that you wouldn't have got through if you hadn't had the TENS, or that you would have found more difficult to get through. So they're all there. You might forget about some, you might then be struggling, and then your partner then goes, oh, what about using the aromatherapy oils? Like, oh great, I didn't think of that. It's just to get you a little bit further along, So having that toolkit that you put together. Personally, like I had TENS on my first, and I used it throughout the night, and it was just brilliant. It got me through that whole night of labour. The next day it was driving me nuts, and I took it off. I didn't need it anymore, but it really helped through the night. So that was one night down, The other thing we would suggest is focus as to what can go right, okay? Most labour is normal, okay? And most labour goes well for healthy mums and healthy babies. So focus on what can go right rather than what can go wrong, okay? So our mindset is really important in birth, so preparing the mind as well as the body. Okay, so over the next couple of weeks, if you're standing in the queue in Tesco's and you're thinking, oh God, you're thinking about you're thinking about the birth, and you're thinking, is what I'm feeling making me feel more excited about my baby's birth or more nervous? Then it's time to change the channel and choose different thoughts. And it doesn't even have to be different thoughts about birth. It can be, like imagine win the lotto, for example, just something that's going to make you feel more positive. Also visualizing your birth can be a nice thing to do as well, and how it's all going to go so well for you. And imagining yourself, like for example, calling your partner or getting into the pool or whatever it is that you want. Everyone's birth's going to be different, and everyone's preferences are going to be different as well. So I think that's kind of it. They're all the kind of tips. The other thing I would say is as well, when you're, just for another couple of tips, is when you're preparing for your birth preferences, okay, so you want to focus on what you were looking for, okay, and what you're hoping for with your birth. If you're hoping, for example, for a vaginal birth, and you put everything down that you would hope for. I think it's also good on the next page to have a couple of points about if you did need to have a cesarean, okay, how would you make that a positive experience? And there are tips and blog posts and ideas out there on the idea of a gentle cesarean birth, which can make it a more positive experience. I wouldn't have it on the first page because you're focusing on what you want, but it's there in case, okay? So you're preparing just in case. and you're writing a couple of little tips about how that might be a more positive experience for yourselves, you know, because we have had nice positive experiences with gentle birth with cesarean as well, you know. So that's kind of a few of the tips that I would think for having a positive birth experience. Have you any questions for me? Anything you'd like to just check with? No. Have you thought about using the pool before?
You know, they had one with CMH.
Okay.
Tell you about it for homeworks.
Oh no, there's a beautiful pool room there. So yeah. So definitely ask for it if you're able to. It's really nice, and they will have birth balls, and you know they will have floor mats as well, which you can ask for if you want to be on the floor. You know, if you're labouring on all fours, you don't want to be on your hands and knees. You know, ask for these things. Like, you know, they're very supportive in there. Yeah, it's a lovely hospital. You know, like, as in, it's quite newly built. It's only 10 years old. So the fact that we have the pool and, for example, the showers en suite, I think really helps. You know, not every hospital has that. You know, in some hospitals we wander around looking for the shower. You know.
Question. If you want to bring a doula with you to
Yeah.
CMH, what way do you go about it? Who do you need to notify, or?
Yeah, that's a great question. So CMH has a one partner only policy, right? But they do allow doulas in. So the protocol is you would write a letter to the head of midwifery requesting that your doula would be coming in with you, and then she would write back to say that your doula would come in with you, and once it's in your file, then your doula is welcome into
And
CMH.
it's registered doulas and for
Yeah, there is, and actually there's a standout. The Doula Association of Ireland would have a list of doulas. Yeah. They're not so much registered; they're just members of the DAI, you know. And the DAI has had a meeting with CMH, so they are aware of the Doula Association. You know? So and they would have to sign up to a code of ethics and standard of practice. You know? So that would be kind of a way to choose your doula. Yeah. That's kind of it. I mean, there's so much more, I suppose, but we don't have, unfortunately, you know, we only have half an hour to the clock. So go back to them. Any other questions? No? Okay. Great. Thank you.
know the stuff that shows.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary.
Oh.